Hello everyone, welcome to MediaNama. India's Minister for Electronics and Information Technology, Ashwini Vaishnaw, has said that the government will soon come up with a new law for artificial intelligence in order to protect rights of the news publishers and content creators while tackling the user harms associated with the new technology. In January this year, the Digital News Publishers Association (DNPA), an association which represents at least 17 Indian digital media organizations, also wrote to the central government seeking copyright protection rules against generative AI models. We have with us MediaNama founder-editor Nikhil Pahwa, who will speak to us about AI, copyright, and rights of the content creators. Hi, Nikhil. The Indian government has been stressing on the rights of Indian publishers on various occasions, whether it's advertising revenue or AI. Is a new legislation required for artificial intelligence, like a separate one? What could be done alternatively to protect the intellectual property of news organizations and content creators?
So thanks, Ashwini. Look, that's a bit of a loaded question, I think. You said that stressing the rights of Indian publishers, whether it's advertising revenue or AI. I don't think Indian publishers firstly have a right to revenue, to advertising revenue. What we're talking about is basically something called the link tax that the Indian government has said that they will consider imposing on large platforms that link out to news items or where users link out to news items. So, for example, when we put a news link on Twitter, uh, basically what they're saying is that Twitter will be asked to pay the publisher because someone's put the publisher's article link on Twitter. This has happened in some countries like Australia and Canada. And I think this is a problem because you shouldn't have to pay to link out to someone. You're actually sending them traffic. Um, and publishers have basically built audiences on the basis of traffic that is being sent by platforms to them. It's just that they haven't been able to make advertising revenue as much as large platforms have been
Hmm.
because audiences are aggregated around those large platforms, but they don't have a right to advertising revenue, frankly. Now, but that's just on the AI one. We have discussed this before as well. The AI one is interesting because I really don't have a clear answer on that.
Hmm.
Um, what is happening in terms of AI is that there is a large amount of data. So, what is an AI model? An AI model is essentially a next word prediction model. How does it learn what the next word might be? It learns that on the basis of reading a vast amount of content on social media, whether it is on Twitter or it's on Facebook, maybe not or Facebook or on Reddit. And uh, what it what it understands is what is the if let's say I've asked it a query, what
Hmm.
should the next word be? And those outcomes are probabilistic in nature. And so, as such, what it is learning from these platforms is if I have a query or if I've given a prompt to an AI chatbot, what is the most appropriate answer for it to give me? And it learns what that is on the basis of multiple aspects like the data that it is trained on, like data that might belong to a publisher
Hmm.
or even a book author. It's also based on training weights that are added, which are done quite often by humans who are trained to label and sometimes add weights, and weights can be automated as well. And then there's a statistical transformation model where that learning is aggregated, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then so if I get a response from a chatbot, I get it on the basis of all of these factors and
Right.
the prompt that I've given and the context that I've added, right?
Hmm.
So an output from a chatbot, is it really copyright violation? That's a question. Uh, because it's not regurgitating the exact same output. It is in fact predicting what that output should be.
Hmm.
Now, what happened in the New York Times lawsuit was that there is uh, 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 there was it was able to replicate almost word for word entire articles, and there are a few cases that they have indicated there. Uh, I can't say whether that is really, complete replication or how they've
Hmm.
come out with that outputs, because those we've tried replicating the same thing, um, and we've not been able to do that on our own using chatbots, right? Using
Hmm.
OpenAI for that matter. So a few cases here or there are not exactly indication of publishing. Secondly, um, is that reproduction an act of republishing? In the sense, it's a communication, it's a chat that's happening between two people. It's happening in a private content. It's not a
Right.
communication to the public. It
Hmm.
does not affect the New York Times' ability to communicate to the wider public an article that it has. So then, should that be treated as a copyright violation? Uh, Pranesh Prakash actually on Twitter made this really good point, and it made me think a little bit more about it from a
Hmm.
copyright perspective, saying that, um, how does this impact, like an AI model is actually reading the text, and so if it is reading the text, it's like a human being reading the text, and
Hmm.
it is then able to explain what that text contains. That isn't a copyright violation. I can use it to write the text in a different language also if I want.
Hmm.
And that is plagiarism, but it's not copyright violation. It's not illegal in that sense, right?
Hmm.
But let's be very clear, it does have an impact on publishing businesses.
Right.
Uh, Today, if we do an article and then it's able to copy, it is able to, someone, it just basically runs it through an algorithm, and they can rewrite the entire article and build an entire website, republishing our content in different language, so it isn't copyright violation, but it is plagiarism.
Hmm.
Uh, that's a problem. You have
Right.
something like Perplexity, for example, which takes articles from multiple sources, picks out all the important points from each, and then constructs a whole new article in a
Hmm.
different language, taking the best from each article about that topic. But it also attributes each of those sources like Wikipedia does. So
Hmm.
it's doing the ethical thing of attribution. It's also, attribution is also cover your ass to make sure you don't get sued, and you attribute it saying, hey, this person wrote it, I didn't write that,
Right.
or produce that fact, right? So,
Hmm.
but what happens is that the output is so useful and so well constructed that most people will end up reading the Perplexity output rather than the original source of the news. And
Hmm.
so then publishers lose revenue. And in those situations, what do publishers do? If the ability for publishers, because the revenue is reducing, the ability of publishers to create content goes down, then who will report the facts? Everyone will. What will these bots repurpose in a sense,
Hmm.
right? It's already such a strained, really, really difficult environment for publishers in terms of making money, making revenues. Um, Across trying multiple business models to see what sticks. AI is again looking at coming and upending that. Text content is the most easiest to replicate, right?
Hmm.
So I think it's a difficult question. There is no right answer because A, it's not copyright violation. Someone who who's almost anti-copyright like Pranesh is, he will, and or he's very, very liberally focused on copyright, can come in and say that, look, technically it's not copyright violation.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, the idea behind copyright is to make sure that creators of content are incentivized to create more content, right? In that sense, the idea behind copyright is to incentivize for news publishers to incentivize journalism.
Hmm.
Uh, the kind of things that are possible and the kind of things that are happening can disincentivize journalism,
Right.
and so there needs
So.
to be some protection. I can't say what that protection is, but I
Hmm.
don't think it is copyright. I don't think copyright is where it should be, um, that it should be based on. Sorry.
Right. So, news organizations, publishers do have something to worry about. And in India, the Digital News Publishers Association has asked the IT Ministry and Ministry of Information Broadcasting to introduce changes in India's IT rules. They're also seeking fair compensation for use of their news content to train AI models. So, do you think a compensation or content licensing model is a suitable method to sort of balance out news publishers' rights as well, and also innovation for AI companies?
Yeah, I think a is in play in the sense there are some publishers that content has been licensed from, and they have
Yeah.
agreed to do it. The New York Times, for example, was in a licensing negotiation with OpenAI, um, but it looks like those negotiations broke down.
Hmm.
And as a result of that, they decided, so the lawsuit has happened. My guess is most likely this lawsuit is going to get settled out of court. So the lawsuit itself, then in that sense, post facto, if that happens, could be seen as a negotiating tactic, right? I don't agree with the idea that these compensation agreements, etc., should be a part of law. On
Hmm.
what basis would they be a part of? Why is the how is it that the IT rules should be edited or modified um, to create a commercial relationship between two entities? The IT rules are basically a function of due diligence requirements that platforms are supposed to have. The entire regulation of on India's digital news industry through the IT rules
Hmm.
has already been stayed because effectively it was and the allegation is that it is illegal, and I do believe that these IT rules are illegal. I don't think change in a law in order to create a commercial relationship between two entities is the right approach. Um, I don't know what they mean by fair compensation and how anyone apart from the market can determine what fair compensation is. Um,
Right.
I do think that uh, if that something as significant and important as AI should not be done by just regulation of AI should not be done just by uh, amending IT rules. We saw what a mess the government's AI advisory was earlier in the
Hmm.
year, and I so don't as hell don't want that kind of a thing to be replicated. I think publishers are being naive over here when it comes to laws and
Hmm.
rules, and uh, uh, but then this the Digital News Publishers Association actually welcomed uh, uh, the allegation is that they nudged for these IT rules to be amended to regulate online news in any case because they're essentially um, representatives of traditional publishers
Hmm.
with digital arms, and they are definitely not representative of uh, digital publishers as a whole, uh, because there are a vast number of digital publishers in this ecosystem. Um, and there are more digital publishers, I think, probably as a part of DigiPub than there are as part of DNPA, to be honest. I don't think that they represent the views of digital publishers as a whole either.
Right. Thanks, Nikhil. For our viewers, if you're interested in reading more about tech policy news and developments, do check out our website, medianama.com, and follow our YouTube channel for more such explainers. Thank you.